Hello, welcome to the Church Solutions Podcast. My name is Phil Thompson.
And I'm Steve Lacy.
Steve, how are you today?
I'm doing all right.
Summertime is hitting us now, even though it's officially spring. We are in Tucson, and we're going to get up to 90 today, aren't we?
Yeah, it's probably another month for me to turn the AC on though. So I got the
Yeah,
windows open.
I'm trying to hold
It's
off my wife. Yeah, I'm trying
it
to.
is it is really nice.
It's very nice, but you already took your bike ride today when it was 72 out in the
Yes.
morning.
Yeah.
In the morning, yeah. So
Yeah.
you're good at that. All right.
Exactly.
So
All right,
much
what are
for
we doing today?
what are we doing today? I don't know. What do you want to do? Let's talk a little bit about the topic of Facebook and should my church, or should the title would be, should your church use Facebook? It's actually on our blog right now at streamingchurch.tv. So let's discuss that a little bit today on our podcast. There's over 2 billion people, almost 3 billion people now on Facebook. And, you've got a lot of people that use it for social media. Uh, the world is involved in Facebook. There's people sharing news and opinions and stories and photos, all those kind of things, memories. My wife has posted some things on Facebook of memories that from 15, 20 years ago, some pictures of us when we really looked young back then. And, but there are some pros and some cons to your church using Facebook. So we're going to talk about a little bit about that today. We're going to cover Facebook for social, Facebook for advertising, and this is not going to be a long podcast, probably less than 30 minutes. Social advertising and also Facebook to stream. So let's talk first of all about the pros, shall we, Steve?
Let's do it.
So,
So and this applies to all three, I guess. The first pro
yeah. Mm-hmm.
is for streaming, for social network stuff, and for exposure as far as marketing or paid advertising. Everybody's on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Well, almost everybody. There's a
Almost
lot
everybody.
more people getting off Facebook now, though.
It seems
But
that way, doesn't it? Yeah.
yeah, it seems like I'm not doing that anymore. But that's very small numbers, I think. You mentioned we're almost at 3 billion. I think
know.
just about everybody's has a Facebook account. That's where people
Almost.
hang out.
Yeah.
That's where
Yeah.
Getting all your information. So
Yeah.
the church needs to be where the people are. And if the people are on Facebook, then it's a major pro. So as we mentioned, for all three, if I stream to Facebook, I'm going to get an audience. If I'm interacting, posting my status and that sort of thing, I'm going to connect with my congregation as well as get exposure to other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
those are the pros. Absolutely. And when it comes to advertising, you can certainly advertise on Facebook. And as you mentioned, again, lots of people are on there. And you actually can define your target audience. And so you've got some critical parameters there that Facebook allows you to do. We'll get into I put kind of on the con side of that, but we'll get into that in a moment. And as you mentioned, streaming, again, you've got lots of people on there and you can actually stream to Facebook for free, quote unquote. You can do that. And you really, a lot of people, when they think about streaming to Facebook, they're thinking about using their mobile phone to do that. We don't recommend that. Your audio is going to be your main source of issue when you do that, but it's possible to stream to using a mobile device, and it's easy in one sense to do that, but the camera, the video, and all that can be problematic. However, if you're going to do that, you can use a live encoder like OBS, which is, if you're actually going to do that, you probably ought to use a live encoder like OBS and have a camera, at least one camera on a tripod or something, or multiple cameras. So lots of pros to do that. Lots of numbers out there. Let's talk a little bit about the cons to all this stuff. So let's just talk for a little bit about if you just have a Facebook page for your church. And believe it or not, we do streaming video, and we get a lot of people asking about doing streaming video. And I have found out, and as you have seen, I'm sure, is that there are some churches that don't have a website. I find it really hard to believe, but they don't. They use Facebook as kind of their website. Most of these are new churches or small churches. But even if you're a small church, you could certainly get a website. We offer websites with our company, but the cons to using Facebook as kind of your main hub, your main online presence, is that, well, it's Facebook. It's not your website. So when people go to Facebook, they're going to see other content, other stuff that you may not want them to really. It sounds controlling, but it may distract them, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. People, if they're just going to your church's Facebook page and they never go to your website, they don't have any other source of connection with you, they're going to get distracted by other stuff that Facebook puts out there, which may not be very good. And so it takes away from, and if you have a website and you still are always using Facebook instead of your website, you're taking people away from your website that if you have one, which can affect, most people think affects your SEO, your search engine optimization. So there's some things there that would be the con end of using Facebook to connect with people.
Yeah, we recommend you having a website. And so if you rely too much on Facebook, or you stream to Facebook, or it's going to impact how easily it is to find your website from others, looking for your church. So, having the traffic stay at your website is what you want to do. So, one of the things we talk about is we encourage people to embed their stream on their website. And that's going to draw more people to your website. It's going to increase your site's credibility, as opposed to sending people off to Facebook, which will do nothing for it actually may harm your SEO. They may see that, Church XYZ, most of their traffic is over on this Facebook page.
Yeah. And there's no excuse, guys, really, even if you're a very small church, you can get a website for next to nothing. I mean, it's you don't really, you can do that. You don't have to rely on other things like Facebook to do that. Right. We offer website templates, they're not expensive at all. All right. Let's talk about the advertising means of Facebook. So the pro is lots of people out there.
Do you have much? I don't run across a lot of churches that are advertising on Facebook, but they are doing it.
They are.
So, So one of the cons about it is you have to pay. You've got to pay Facebook to get the traffic to either to your website. So it's you show up as an ad in the live feed for people.
Yeah. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but and again, to really do it right means you have to kind of drill down and spend some time. And look, I have this as a con, although the truth is it's maybe not really a con, in the sense that, if you want to advertise on Facebook, yes, you have to pay. You'd have to do that for almost anybody, I would think. And then the other thing would be, you do have to really spend some time to really drill down and target your audience if you want to be effective. And that's not necessarily a con, but it would take a little bit of time and effort to do that. And so, again, it's your choice, but it's not just an instant deal. If you just rely on Facebook and you think, well, if I'm just on Facebook, everybody will find me, not necessarily the case.
Right. I mean, there's a whole industry out there for optimizing advertising on either Facebook or Google or wherever you're going. And so there's a whole skill set that if you're not very good at, could, you may lose a lot of money. So one of the advantages, like you say, is I can target, say I'm just looking for, women over 65 and to come to my church, because we have a bunch of youngsters here and we have no seniors, you can target your ads for it, which is good, and you can also target demographically. But if you're not a master of setting that stuff up, you can find that you're wasting a lot of money.
Yeah, you can. And we've had some experience with that. And this is not about Google, but we've used Google in the past. And, there's times we've done things when we early on with Google, paid Google AdWords, and then found out, you know what, this isn't working. We're getting people that we don't want viewing, and we're paying for it.
Right. Yes.
For our ads, for streaming church. And so we had to really learn that there's certain things you have to leave out, and certain things, there's all sorts of. It takes some time and effort, and I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you need to educate yourself and get some advice from some people that really know what they're doing, that are not just trying to take money from you.
Exactly.
All right. So zeroing in on your demographics takes time and effort. That's a con. Another con of using Facebook, especially if you're going to do streaming video or post even videos, archive videos, copyright issues. That is something Facebook has this, what do they call it? AI, I guess. This their algorithm stuff will capture things, and you could have a CCLI license for video streaming, but it can still be problematic. There can still be issues that pop up, and your video either gets muted if you're doing some music that they think is a violation of copyright, or it could get possibly taken down.
Right. And it's really challenging. We run into a lot of people that come to us that, after experiencing this, and it's really frustrating because they went through all of the effort to purchase their CCLI license and publish it and make sure it's available. And they get caught up in the machine, in that, this copyright issue is probably 99.5% of the time completely automated. So one of their algorithms went through and said, wow, that rendition of Amazing Grace was just spot on, and it matched the copyrighted version. So you've violated the copyright. And they don't go through it doesn't go the second degree and check to see that, do they have a license for this? It just says that music matches music that's copyrighted. So we're taking it down.
Is Amazing Grace, is that public domain now?
I don't know. It probably is. I was trying to think of
but I get what you're saying. I understand what you're
song
saying.
Right off the top of my head.
A song that could be, that's a good song. But so
it's not a current song.
Not current, but yeah, I mean, I tell this story all the time. I had a friend who writes music, and he did one of his own original songs, and it got taken down. He's the guy that wrote it.
Yeah. So he must have had a tune that was similar to something that was copyrighted out.
Might have been something that George Harrison ran into years ago. But yeah, absolutely. So you're going to face those challenges when it comes to copyright stuff. Even if you feel like you have all your ducks in a row, you have all your licenses, it can be a problem. And you can what's the word? You can respond to that, and I'm looking for the word. It escapes me right now. You can,
right. It's not like you can call anybody, but you can petition,
right? Yeah,
and say, hey, no, I've got this license, and that is also fed into a big machine as well. So it's not something that that you can just say, hey, let me talk to the man in charge and let him know I can send you a copy of my license, and it gets resolved quickly. It's just it's a big machine.
Yeah. And again, when we're talking about the area of streaming on Facebook, sometimes it's problematic. And fortunately, all you have to do is call Mark Zuckerberg, and he'll fix your problem. Oh, I'm being facetious here. The problem is you don't get any support. If you're trying to stream on Facebook and there's something goes wrong or something isn't working right, there's nobody you can call.
Right. And it happens at the worst time, right? It's
always the worst time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, wow, just finished the last song in the worship set, and the pastor's going to come on, and all of a sudden the video is gone. So,
Yep. And so, unlike us, you can call us Sunday morning, or you can chat with us at streamingchurch.tv, and we'll help you. So, those are the cons. There's pros, as we just mentioned, and there's cons. And so sometimes there's problems. And as you said, we've gotten a lot of churches over the years, especially the last year, that are coming to us. And we're at one time on Facebook. So let's talk a little bit about some of the alternatives here to Facebook. There's several ways you can get people to find out about your church. You don't necessarily have to use Facebook to do that. You have content, you have traffic, you have your website, you have your email list. If you're doing a podcast, if you're doing streaming video, you have that stuff that you owned. And that is your content. And then you have other content that you can control. You can do paid advertising on different platforms. And there are things that, you're able to control using that method. But traffic that you don't control is things like Facebook and those things. You can't control what they do there. You own all those things that I just mentioned. It's your content. You might host it with somebody else, but you choose what is in your content. But when it comes to Facebook and many other social media platforms, you don't own that content anymore. Facebook owns it. YouTube owns it. And so they end up controlling who sees it. Facebook is something you don't really control, where with your website, you can control it. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly. They may, yes, if you're wanting to rely on these other providers, it can be tough because they own the content. And, if you're not paying for a positioning place, then you may get lost in the darkness.
It could be, and so that can be a downside. But again, all we're trying to say here is there are other options, and you should consider those other options, something you have maybe a little more control over. All right, so let's talk about a question that I get thrown at quite a bit lately, and that is the Facebook censorship concern. I've had, I talk to customers or potential customers quite often, and because we do streaming video, and there's been talk recently about Facebook taking down sermons, and they're taking down sermons for various reasons. One of those can be the copyright issue that we mentioned earlier. And when you say, well, why would you take down a sermon for copyright? What we're talking about is videos or archives that have been taken down supposedly.
That include
music,
video clips or music in the message.
Yeah. I've looked at some of this stuff, especially the sermon part, and there are some people that have posted things. Facebook took my sermon down because of this. There's really, honestly, I can't find any hard data to prove that. And again, there's different people that have said that. Facebook does have policy. They have a community policy deal that includes no nudity, anything regarding sexual activity. There's the hate speech deal. There's the graphic violence post. And those are usually deleted by technology, software. Computer vision is what they call it. And it's trained to flag content because of, certain elements may be in an image. So there's been times where graphic images have been taken down, and there's some kind of a warning message put on it.
And if your sermons include that information, then you probably have a bigger problem.
Yeah. However, I will say this much:
naked and sexual activity.
Well, absolutely. But there are things where the technology has been known to make mistakes. You talk about certain historical photos. There are certain paintings. So there are things that that happen with this technology that happen, so to speak, by accident as well. So so if you're, but like to your point, I mean, if you've got that content in your sermons, it could be
you got other problems.
Yeah, it could be other problems to that. And look, I know that one of the first things that people might bring up is, and there was a guy who apparently, and I guess this is true, Vimeo, which is a company like YouTube, Vimeo actually took down 68 sermons from a guy who used to be gay and converted from being a homosexual to heterosexual. And apparently, and it's on there, and there was a court case that went to court, and he lost. Vimeo took down his sermons. Now, I don't know all the details of that, and I know that is part of what when I talk to different people, like, I'm going to get off Facebook because they're going to take our stuff off because of we're speaking biblical truth. I guess in theory that could happen. I guess it could happen, and maybe it has happened, but I don't have any documented proof of that. Maybe somebody listening can share us actually documented proof. So I guess my point is this, is that a concern? Is censorship a concern? I guess it's always a possibility. I guess it's always, goes to what we were saying earlier, and that is, don't put all your eggs on Facebook. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't put everything you do on Facebook, because if there is some kind of a problem with Facebook, censorship or something else, then you're kind of stuck, right? So that would be my point anyhow. Choose wisely, I guess, is the bottom line.
Diversify, just like your investments.
Just like your investments, diversify. So look, we've been helping churches now 20 years. And if we can help you and your church, and we're not anti-Facebook, although, quite frankly, it can be problematic, because we do have a platform that allows people to stream to us, that also takes their stream and sends it to Facebook, sends it to YouTube if they want, sends it to Twitter. And many times we get people that have problems with Facebook or YouTube, and they want us to fix it. And usually it's not us. Usually it's Facebook or YouTube that's got the problem. But we would advocate.
A brief commercial. I think we have a better track record streaming wise. There's been times where Facebook's had, technical issues, servers out, or things not working in parts of the country. And it's ironic they come to us.
Well,
they say my Facebook stream's not working. I'm like,
right.
Well, let me see how we can help, but I'm not in charge of Facebook.
Right. Mark Zuckerberg blocked me years ago. So, it's just one of those things that I think this whole article is about. Just choosing wisely. Just be careful what you're doing, and know that, there's things that happen on any platform for that matter, YouTube or Twitter or anything else. And so, let's be smart, let's use caution, but there are pros to doing this, and there are cons to what we just talked about. So if we can help you in any way, we're certainly be willing to do that. So with that in mind, I do want to make one more mention of a new product that we have available now. That we have a webinar that you will, if you missed the webinar, we're going to post it on YouTube. We'll probably post a link if you get our newsletter, and it's called My Church Daily. And take a moment to go to mychurchdaily.com, and it's an opportunity for you to have your church a presence on what we call, or what Amazon calls, My Daily Flash Briefing. Did I screw that up? My Flash Briefing? What is that, Steve? I forget. I get all mixed up.
It provides the opportunity for churches to be on the Amazon Alexa. They have a daily flash briefing, so it's designed for a daily short.
Daily flash briefing.
Yeah.
And we did a webinar on this thing. If you want to hear more about it, webinar is only about a half hour long, or you can just go to mychurchdaily.com. I think eventually we'll probably post the webinar recording on that website as well, mychurchdaily.com. But check it out. It's a brand new product. We just introduced it. It's a 14-day free trial, and it's something that you might be interested in. An opportunity for you to connect with your people with a smart speaker on a daily basis if you want to, and reinforce what you're doing at your church, reinforce the vision, help people connect with God, help people connect with your church, help them grow spiritually. mychurchdaily.com. Check it out today.
All right.
Steve, thank you very much for your input on our podcast today. Appreciate it.
Well, glad to be here.
All right. We're glad that you are listening or watching us. We're on YouTube. If you go to streamingchurch.tv, under more info, you'll see us on the video part as well as the audio, or you can subscribe to Church Solutions Podcast, just anywhere on Apple Podcasts or anywhere that you get your
Spotify
podcast.
now too.
We're on
I thought we
Spotify.
were on Spotify all along, but I know we're really on it now. So
Now we're really on it. So now I can listen to our podcast on Spotify. Yeah. Church Solutions Podcast. Subscribe to us today. Thank you, Steve. And thank you for listening to this edition of the Church Solutions Podcast. Please take care of yourself. We'll catch you again next time. Take care.